So I got a ticket sometime last week. For those of you who take in enough of my lives and follow enough of my content, that's not really news to you because I've said it before. But you know, I'm trying to have a clear post-mortem of this ticket, and in thinking it through, several things came to me. So I thought, you know what, let's make a video about this. Let's make it clear. Let's go through this story and say some of the conclusions that, you know, was running through my mind as I was thinking about this. So if you enjoy my content, if you like this kind of stuff, make sure you hit that like button. If you are not yet subscribed, please do subscribe, and let's go into it. So sometime last week, was that Thursday, I believe it was, I was dropping my brother's children to their school, and I was using one of his vehicles, and a vehicle which has, it's older than 5 years, and the law in Trinidad and Tobago is if your vehicle is older than 5 years, then every year or every 2 years, according to what the inspection is at that point in time, you must carry it to one of the registered garages, and they would inspect it, give you a sticker, and now you are inspected and allowed to be on the road. Okay, grand. But first off, you must understand, when you're looking at things like this inspection, it's only targeted to a certain audience. So you have to understand, when I'm thinking about these laws, I'm understanding that this law is kind of making it hard to be poor. A police officer in one of the lives when I was speaking, he iterated that, you know, you might be upset with the police officers for this, but these laws, some of these laws were put in place by Arrive Alive, which is a pressure group, non-governmental organization, and their aim is to make the roads safer. And in attempting to make the roads safer, very often what you end up seeing happening is that more laws are put in place. You get really and truly a more tyrannical government in attempting to make things safer. And I think I made a video about this recently. I find that's a kind of maternal nature, and that maternal nature to me is great in families where the matriarch, the main mother of that family, is attempting to protect everyone involved in the family. But I think that maternal nature should not really be there in governance. This could be controversial, but I think governance is supposed to be more patriarchal and paternalistic. Here's what I mean. I'm not saying that only men are supposed to be in leadership and governance. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in terms of the traits that are more common of those genders, the traits that are more that are seen as the commonality between the genders. In leadership, I think we're not really supposed to, in social leadership, in government, in political leadership, we're not supposed to have that maternal look after everyone and make sure everyone isn't harmed kind of business. Trying to protect everyone from harm creates some weird dynamics. But nonetheless, I was dropping my brother's children to school, two of them, and I was using this older vehicle that was inspected last, I believe, up till 2022. It did not have the inspection ready for 2023. So as I dropped them off, I'm driving, if you know the area in Couva, I'm driving in Couva, and there's a no entry sign because there are lots of schools around that area. There's a no entry sign for a certain time period up till 8:30 in the day, because, you know, for those school children, if all of the cars are driving many directions, it creates traffic problems, so they have that one-way traffic at certain times in the day. But I look at my clock, I see it's 8:35, so I'm like, I saw the police officers there. I'm saying the no entry is no longer in effect. I have nothing to worry about. I drive through, police officer stops me. Eventually, as the process keeps going on and on, it took quite a while. I got out my vehicle. I once asked, is the process the punishment? And maybe that's one of the reasons they decided to still give me that ticket. But they took about 20 minutes and eventually gave me the ticket. And in the process, I'm thinking there, you know, should I record these officers and put them on blast? And I didn't want to be that guy. You know, sometimes you see some online personalities, they get some popularity, and all of a sudden everything is to be recorded and placed online, and if you only cross, and I didn't want to be that guy. The police officers are just doing their job there. But nonetheless, when I'm thinking about it as in terms of just doing their job, what is a job? A job is someone paying you to do a duty, to do an activity, to do something. Someone is paying you to do that. There are some things that I will never take money to do. I was figuring that. And I think tax collection from the regular citizens might be one. You look through history, and tax collectors were never people respected in society. I mean, Jesus ate with them, so if you're acting in that tax collection avenue, at least Jesus still loves you. But the reason that was a peculiar thing for Jesus to still love the tax collectors was because nearly no one else loved them. When you look at Robin Hood and you're cheering for Robin Hood and his band of merry men, and they're going out there through the Nottingham Forest killing people. The people they are killing, by and large, are tax collectors. They're fighting tax collection. That's what they're fighting in Robin Hood. The bad guys are the tax collectors. And in terms of those tickets, those road traffic violations, I am sure many officers might say, well, we are not tax collectors. We are attempting to make the roads safe, and that's within our duties. But when you think about it, something like inspection, does that endanger someone's life on the road? I spoke about this during the live when I was going through this incident. I would like to see the data on this. What does the data say on this? What level of inspection decreases road traffic accidents? Is it the inspection? The road traffic accidents that we see in Trinidad and Tobago, are they by vast majority old vehicles? Old vehicles with some kind of mechanical issue? So in this term, really and truly, what you're doing, honestly, is not making the road safer. There's no intention of making the road safer in forcing someone to pay you money because the vehicle hasn't yet been inspected to be given one of these stickers. And as many people may know, the inspection thing already is a racket. For the most part, most people drive into an inspection garage, pay a fee, the person takes a brief overlook of your car and drive you back out with a sticker. So the thing by and large is a rubber stamp anyway. It's not really looking at cars to make sure they're safe for the road. What is looking at cars to make sure they're safe for the road is people not wanting to die in cars on the road. Do you think that the average citizen in Trinidad and Tobago wants to drive a vehicle that endangers their life? No one wants to do that. Like, you don't have to make a law for people to want to preserve their own lives. That's not generally how it's done. You make a law to protect people from other people. That's the main intent of laws, to me, from my understanding of laws. You make laws to protect people from other people. And here's where I am finding some problems in this. Like, okay, even if you're saying the inspection makes sense in Trinidad and Tobago, this law adds up. Even though you're making it that lower classes of people in Trinidad and Tobago cannot own vehicles, they would always have to be consumers of transport. They would always have to pay people to move around the island. If you think that's a great thing, okay, fine. Even if you think so. I remember something very interesting that our Prime Minister said not too long ago. Crime as a public health emergency. This was from July 2022. The Prime Minister on Saturday spoke of the country having to consider crime as a public health emergency. I think in Titi, the time has come for us to declare violence as a public health emergency. And we need to find solutions for treating with violence in our population, Dr. Rowley said. He compared the situation to how people would react if there was a deadly disease going through the population. And he's right. He was right back then. But here's the issue with this. I don't know how many of you could remember COVID and the pandemic. That was so long ago, it may be difficult to think back to those times, but you could remember those times. There was a word that many health officials started throwing around that some people who may not be familiar with health lingo, health language, were not familiar with. Triage, where the aim is you're looking at the pressing need of something, the pressing danger of something, and determining, well, which one are we going to focus on first? Because that same triaging during the pandemic caused Europe faces cancer epidemic after estimated 1 million cases missed during COVID. Report says 100 million screenings lost because of pandemic, which had chilling effect on research. So because there was a pandemic going on, because most of the health institutions, most of the healthcare was involved in trying to take care of COVID, well, cancer screenings went by. That was one of the things ignored by Triage. And that's not only in the European Union, that's also in the United States. Millions of Americans missed vital cancer screenings in pandemic second year. And cancer is like the biggest one. It's the most obvious one. But it was not only cancer. Many other diseases, many other ailments kind of just snuck through under the door during the pandemic because people were more worried about more significant issues, and that's understandable. So if we bring that kind of public health emergency thinking over to crime, what would we ignore a little more of and focus a little more heavily on? You see, right now in Trinidad and Tobago, if we take a brief look through some of the news, we see that the police are boasting that the traffic wardens department and division, they're boasting about the tickets they distributed on a day, a whole traffic exercise, and the police are boasting about this on a regular basis. But what is the crime situation like in Trinidad and Tobago? 600 plus murders last year. Man injured in daylight gun attack near Arima Mall. A man and his wife and children were in their vehicle. Broad daylight. Now, I don't know what the man was or was not involved in. That's irrelevant to me. But it's broad daylight. In Arima, in a mall. That's not things that happen in a well-running country. In a country where the criminals have serious respect for law enforcement, those aren't things that happen. Not in areas where the criminals fear law enforcement. That's not the only one. Valencia schoolboy murdered while playing football. Gunmen run through an area, KP lands in Valencia, shooting up randomly and murder a young schoolboy, injuring several other people. And these are just a quick example of some of the articles going on. Tempest flares, 2 more houses burned down a train line. St. Augustine, there's a out and out gang war going on now in St. Augustine. A mother being murdered on one side, little children being murdered on the next side, houses being burnt down. They're doing this out in the open. Nothing happening. But. These are the issues. It's like Trinidad and Tobago has a big gaping wound on our neck, a gash. We got in a serious fight and someone gashed our neck. We're bleeding through our neck and holding on, trying to hold in some of the blood and holding our neck. And the police are coming to clip our fingernails. The police coming to pull your hand off of your neck. Let me see those fingernails. Oh, no. Those naughty Trini. How dare you grow your fingernails? Don't you know long fingernails in a fight, long fingernails could scratch other people. They could damage other people, you know. Let's cut those fingernails, Mr. Trini. But sir, somebody stabbed me and my neck bleeding. Could we look at the bleeding in my neck? The 600 people dying, the gang wars out in the open, the attempted murders in broad daylight in our city malls? No. What we'll do is have 10 people out on a junction in Couva, 10 officers, early morning 8:35 a.m. out there to look for errant drivers. And here's one of the things that really offended me with that whole situation. Not just me, but the intent of that situation. Where that is located, I wish I could have pulled up a map. Let me see if I could find a map quickly. Great, a map. So if you look at the location here, one of the issues I'm having with this is if you look at the intent of what this would have been. 8:35 in the morning. Who do you think is on the road at 8:35 in the morning? Parents dropping off students to school. That's who is the majority of students, especially in this region. So the officers specifically set up that morning to catch parents after they drop their children to school. Here's the thing. In that region, right by, if you're looking at the map here near this Quality Cash and Carry area, that's where the ticket was given. But there's Holy Faith Convent there. There's Couva East Secondary School there. There's Couva West Secondary School there. There's a private primary school right on this over the road from Casa Pot and Kettle there. There's Couva Anglican Primary School further up the road there. There are 2 schools in the yard right outside the street from the street here. One primary school and a Serval Center there. There are a couple private schools on the back roads of Couva. Couva, that area in Couva, is a hub for school activities. It's known that spot in Couva is the spot where nearly everyone who just went in Couva to drop children off to school would be passing back out to go back to their homes or to go to work. And to think, in a country, the people we are targeting and the people who are criminals, because these parents driving these cars obviously would not have purposefully have dangerous vehicles in their possession here. They obviously wouldn't purposefully be carrying their children to school in vehicles that would endanger them. These people are probably the most law-abiding citizens in a country, and this is who you target to go and look through it a fine-tooth comb to try and eke out a little 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 out of them. I think that is evil, personally. And I said this in the live and I'll reiterate it as I end this video. I personally think that is evil. No one could pay me to go out and be a tax collector for parents of middle-class people in this country. I don't think I could be paid enough to do that, because as I've said before, there have always been jobs. The people who ran to catch the runaway slaves, the slave catchers, that was a job. They were paid to do that, and a slave escaping his master was illegal. So they were enforcing a legal mandate and they were being paid to do it. It was a legal job, but I couldn't be paid to catch slaves, just as I don't think I could be paid to catch wage slaves. The wage slaves of the middle class, I don't think it makes sense as a law enforcement agency in a country where there are over 600 murders, where school children are being murdered on football fields, where there are brazen shootings of entire families at midday in the mall in a main city. I don't think I could look at that with a good conscience and go out there and say, what is needed is to take money from people whose vehicles aren't in perfect shape. But those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? That's all I have for now. I hope you were educated, informed, or entertained, and I will see you in the next video.